Hi there. Today we're going to discuss questions, action items, and follow-ups. My name is David Von Thenen, and I'm going to be your guide. For the agenda today, we will review the basics of question, action items, and follow-ups, and cover some things you need to know to utilize them effectively. Then we'll discuss various real-world use cases. Then we will take the platform capabilities and use them in a real-world example. Next, we'll do a deep dive and cover some APIs as they relate to questions, action items, and follow-ups. Finally, we'll cover how-tos, as in how to build applications and solutions using our SDKs, plus tutorials and more resources you can take a look at. So let's talk about questions, action items, and follow-ups. What are they? And more importantly, why do we care about it? The first we're going to start with are follow-ups. Follow-ups are essentially topics that need to be revisited and assigned a specific person to complete a specific action. These are things like, I need to sync with Bob about. Jane, can you set up a meeting to discuss the sales presentation? John, let's take this offline to discuss later. So the model needs to identify that more discussion is required and a conclusion has not been met. My personal take on follow-ups are that these actions are often inadvertently missed or forgotten. This is an excellent way to make sure that these decisions are truly addressed. Other times, follow-ups are occasionally what I considered rhetorical, meaning we are intentionally dismissing the topic in order to move on. So what are action items? Action items require that a specific task be performed. Some examples include, we'll complete the presentation by end of day. All bugs will be fixed by Friday. Action items typically have the following attributes. There is a clear assignee who's responsible to do the work. There's a typical timeline of completion. And usually there's some context around the specific details for the required action. My take on this is that action items are a great opportunity for performing automations for consistent, recurring tasks. In a dev setting, this might be updating GitHub issues or PRs based on what is being discussed. In a sales setting, this might be setting up a meeting with a particular user, company, or client. Questions are probably the most well-known because it's a concept we all get. Some interesting things about the platform and questions is that the platform will identify all questions, whether they're answered or not. It should be noted, however, that questions relating to small talk or basic surface level questions aren't flagged as an insight. There are 3 types of questions. Although the platform doesn't differentiate between the 3, it helps us understand what the platform is looking for when it comes to questions. They are directed questions involving a clear defined assignee or person to answer the question. Implicit questions tend to be questions we already know the answer to, but we're looking for confirmation on. Actionable questions are such that we know the action that needs to be performed. We're just looking for confirmation that everything's understood between all parties. My take on this, aside from the obvious, questions are a great measure of engagement. If individuals are asking questions, that means they're actively participating in the conversation, as well as having some vested interest in the answer they're about to receive. Now, let's talk about some very specific use cases in which you could use these features for. The use cases for questions, action items, and follow-ups are pretty straightforward, so we're going to knock them out pretty quickly. Follow-ups typically incur scheduling something, like a meeting, or setting up a reminder. Action items require specific concrete actions that need to be performed. And questions are things posed to participating individuals in order to find an answer. These things may or may not have an answer, but they include points of clarification or additional information. Questions are often markers for decision points as well. Some questions are seeking confirmation of a specific action or detail. And as we discussed previously, they are ways to measure engagement in a conversation. Now let's talk about how we can apply these features to a specific real-world example. Some applied examples for follow-ups could include scheduling a calendar invite in Google, Outlook, or Apple, or it could be setting up a reminder in your Android or iPhone. Action items are perfectly suited for automation. These are things like assigning, closing, or reopening GitHub issues or Jira tickets. Questions offer the opportunity to attempt to find an answer before moving on to your next topic. Your application could query internal documentation like knowledge base articles or Confluence, or even externally by searching Google or Wikipedia, then offering up the information. Since questions often include confirmation for specific ideas or actions, this could be an opportunity to increase visibility to inform other teams for these larger decision points. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's go ahead and do a deep dive and look at some APIs. The asynchronous API is a 4-step process. First, you log in, Then you either post or link out to a video or audio file to process. Then you poll for job status completion. Finally, you call the GET API to obtain the specific insight you're looking for. Obtaining questions, action items, and follow-ups is as simple as making a GET-style REST call, as you can see here. The resulting JSON for all three of these asynchronous API calls are pretty similar to their real-time WebSocket counterparts. So we'll take a look at what the resulting real-time WebSocket calls look like. Questions typically always have a requester and an assignee to whom we're looking to answer the question. It should also be noted that the originating message reference is indicated along with the content in the included JSON. Action items typically have a requester and usually always has an assignee to whom we're looking to perform the action. Again, the originating message reference is indicated along with the content. Follow-ups typically have a requester and usually always has an assignee to whom we're looking to perform the action. Again, we have the originating message reference and content included in the JSON. So for the demo, we're going to take a look at obtaining questions, action items, and follow-ups using the JavaScript and Go SDK. Let's take a look at that now. So for the demo, we're going to take a look at the Getting Started Samples repo. This contains a lot of our JavaScript and our Node.js related examples. We're going to take a look at questions, action items, and follow-ups. To run the various examples, it's pretty straightforward. We have a helper script at the root of the repo. To do that, you just do run example sh, and there is a provided MP3 file at the root of the repo, which is just a sample conversation. We're going to upload that MP3 file to the Symbl platform to do all of the insight extraction that we're going to demo today. So since we're doing an upload, we're going to do an async upload. And the first one we're going to take a look at is we're going to extract all the questions out of this example conversation. So we're going to do question. So you can see here, we're uploading the new phone call.mp3 file to the Symbl platform. Behind the scenes, what we're doing is we're logging in, getting a session cookie so we can call all the other API calls. From this, we're going to get a conversation ID and a job ID. We're also polling in the background using that job ID for insight completion. And here we can see that it's finished. We have two questions that had been flagged in the conversation. First one you can see here is, how may I help you today? And the second one here is, could you let me know what time works for you? So here's a simple way to extract questions from a given conversation. So if we clear that out and we want to then extract all of the action items from this conversation, it's pretty straightforward. We're going to do the same thing. We could reuse the conversation ID in order to grab the questions, but in order to show everyone how to run the example, you can just do run examples sh, async upload, and then type in action items. From here, we're going to do the same thing, use the MP3 file, upload it to the platform, get the job ID, poll the platform for status to see if we can get the insights. We're going to get a new conversation ID because we're re-uploading a new conversation or a new MP3 file to the platform. And from here, we're going to obtain all the action items in this conversation. So you can see here we have action items. And so we have the first action item is, I will call you back in an hour to confirm your appointment. And we have another action item, I will finish my work by 5. So you can send a technician after that. Again, if we want to then extract all of the follow-ups that occurred within this conversation that the Symbl platform identified, to run the example, it's pretty straightforward. Again, we can do run example sh, async upload, and instead of action items, we will do follow-ups. And in this example, in this conversation, there's only one follow-up. I can send IT internet service technician to your home whenever you're free. Let's go ahead and get back to the presentation. The last thing I want to take a look at is the how-tos. We will be taking a look at the SDKs, tutorials, and finally offer up some resources for people who are looking to dive deeper into code. For a recap on the how-tos, you can recreate everything done in this demo using the information contained on this slide. This will enable you to run each of the examples in JavaScript and in real time with the Go SDK. Here are some additional resources: the Symbl.ai documentation and the API Explorer, which offers a very excellent way without code to explore the platform's different capabilities. And here are links to code samples in the Getting Started Examples repo that exercise the functionality for questions, action items, and follow-ups. As always, you can reach us in our Slack community if you have any questions. Go ahead and drop me a DM to talk about anything you saw in this presentation.